Jonathan, thanks for being here.
Yes, sir.
Thanks for being here. So here, you got to have that. So the question that, I have a few questions for you. Now I got a feeling you're going to take over here pretty soon, but let's get into this. So how in the world did you get into this?
Well, so I'm a little bit out of breath. I've been a gymnast for 28 years, just retired about a year and a half ago. Tell you a pretty ridiculous story. I got my start when I was 4 because my mom lost me in the middle of a Target department store. I was that little wild child kid, ADHD, running around with a monkey backpack and the leash on. And my mom forgot the leash one day, took me shopping, and she lost me. 10 minutes goes by, no one could find me except for the manager. He came up to my mom and said, "Ma'am, calm down, I found your son. He's up there." There was a 25-foot support beam in the middle of the store that I had climbed all the way to the top, and I was just hanging out. Came down the pole. Mom told my dad that night when he came home from work, and he basically was like, "Wow, our son's a freak. We need to put him in gymnastics." And then did gymnastics, and at the age of 22, they had no idea what they were getting into, but I became an Olympian, won 2 medals for my country, and now I've been on Ninja Warrior for 5 seasons.
How about that? I don't think I've ever had a conversation with an Olympic medalist. This is pretty cool. I mean, this is really cool. Can I hug you or something? Yeah. So tell us about the Ninja Warrior thing. We're really excited. We heard that the Ninja Warrior is trained in this part of the world, and that's how we found Jonathan. And he came up from Houston for us. But tell us what you're up to with that.
Yeah, so like I said, I've been on the show for 5 years now. My 6th season will be starting soon. It's actually season 11 of American Ninja Warrior, and I'll tell you what, it's a lot harder than I ever imagined. Being an Olympian, I kind of assumed that I was going to be pretty good at it. I was kind of a little arrogant, thinking, I got this. I can't believe these people keep falling on these obstacles. These aren't hard. And my very first season, I get on the show, and ironically enough, I fall on an obstacle called the ring toss, and at the time, I was currently the 5th best gymnast in the entire world on the rings. And so it's definitely humbled me in a big way. It's an amazing sport, and I hope that it's around as long as it's been in Japan for 30-something seasons now.
So physical health looks pretty darn good. You got a lot of scars all over you, but how are your injuries recovering?
Well, all of my injuries are from gymnastics. I had 6 surgeries at the end of my career in about a 4-year span of time. But Ninja Warrior has been a lot different, but still requires the same amount of strength, flexibility, everything that I needed in gymnastics, which is why it's been such a good transition for me.
Sure. But who do you see as your biggest competition?
Oh, myself.
Okay.
You know, what's really...
Right here?
No, right here. The 6 inches between my 2 ears is the hardest part. You know, stepping up onto the course and seeing the obstacles, what a lot of people don't know is we film in the middle of the night. Start filming around 10 p.m., and they stop around 6 a.m. And they let us look at the course, but we can't test it. So what you see on TV is our very first time touching those obstacles, and you have no idea what the swing of the rings is going to feel like or the trampolines, and that's really what throws you off, and you have to be mentally prepared for anything that they throw at you.
Wow. So Jonathan begins competing again when? New season?
I'm not allowed to tell you guys when we start competing again. I am sworn to secrecy by NBC.
Chris has my wallet, or I'd bribe you.
We can talk later.
Yeah, she's back in the back, yeah. So I think what you've just earned, you know, 2-time Olympic medalist, Ninja Warrior performer, I think you just got 700 new fans. So good luck in the show.
Appreciate that.
Thanks for being here with us.
Very excited to share with you guys my story. It's quite a bit different than what most people would assume. People hear Olympics, they hear Olympic medalist, and I find that most of the time they think, oh, well, he must have been some kind of childhood prodigy. Some kid that discovered that he was really talented at a sport and he was really passionate about it at a young age, and he just won everything right off the bat. I'm not Michael Phelps. I wasn't born with fins and flippers for hands and feet, just winning gold medals right out of the womb. My story is much, much different. I'm not supposed to be an Olympian, much less an Olympic medalist. I was not a talented kid growing up. And I want to share with all of you how a kid that should be a failure was able to rise to the top of his sport. But at first, I was so bad. I wasn't the strongest kid. I wasn't the fastest. And I'm a notoriously slow learner, which are all important qualities to become a good gymnast. And my coaches didn't take me serious at all. They were like, this kid is wild. We can't get him to do anything. But I loved it so much that I stuck with it, and I started competing around the age of 6. And I never won anything. I didn't walk away with any gold, silver, bronze medals, no ribbons, no trophies, nothing. And I remember as a kid being so discouraged and crying about it and thinking, I want to quit. I don't know if I want to do this anymore. But that kind of love and passion for it kind of drove me into it. But it wasn't until I was 10 years old that had a monumental moment that happened in my life, just shifted everything for me. And I bet many of you will remember this moment as well.
Once I became the best, I thought, okay, the work is done. I don't need to do anything else. I'm ready. I'm here. I'm going to go to the World Championships. I'm going to win some stuff. And then 2 years later, I'm going to go to the Olympics, and it's all going to be great. And I just totally let my foot off the gas pedal. I got stuck in this trap of thinking, I've done all I need to do. And when I got to the World Championships, the magnitude of the situation hit me. I realized I wasn't as prepared mentally or physically or emotionally as I needed to be. And when the bright lights came on, cameras in my face, and I'm looking at the judges, I panicked. That was the most important moment of my entire gymnastics career because it taught me
Major wake-up call,
reality check, and for me to realize the work is never done. My goal is to constantly pursue perfection, knowing I'm never going to get there. Because the moment you tell yourself you're good enough and you're perfect, that's when the world comes crashing down and you make a fool of yourself.
At 20 years old in 2006, sophomore in college, I qualified onto the World Championship team. And the World team is a big deal in gymnastics because it's as big as the Olympics, but since the Olympics is every 4 years, we have a World Championships the 3 years leading up to it. And so myself and 5 other guys made the World team, and everybody was saying, Jonathan Horton, he's going to lead these guys to victory. He's the new hero of Team USA. It's going to be exciting. And in my mind, I'm thinking, guys, we got this. We're about to go to the World Championships. We're going to travel overseas. We were going to Denmark. And I was so pumped. I told everybody, I was like, we're about to win so many medals. We're about to stand on top of the podium. It's finally going to happen. I'm going to get that medal around my neck. It's going to be glorious. Led my team to the worst performance in the history of USA men's gymnastics. I fell 6 times. We finished in 13th place. It was 100% my fault because the rest of my teammates did their job. And to this day, no team before or after has ever placed that bad from the United States. And no gymnast from our country has ever performed as poorly as I did at a major international event and made as many mistakes as me. This was the second time that I wanted to quit gymnastics. I wanted no part of it. I didn't even want to see another high bar, pommel horse, set of rings, nothing. There's one thing to let yourself down, but it's another thing to let your teammates down, your family, your supporters. You want to know the worst part? Your country. I wore the red, white, and blue, I had USA right here, and I bombed when people said they trusted me and they believed in me. They said, you got this. And I said, I did. I'm going to go out there. This is what I'm going to do. I didn't even get close. I thought there's no way anyone will ever trust me again. There's no way they will ever put me on a major international assignment. I'll never make the Olympics. I've got 2 years before the '08 Olympics. I can't earn that trust back in that amount of time. It's impossible. And I was done. I told myself, never again. You know what? Maybe I'll go back to college. I'll finish up what I started in school, but I'm not going to make the Olympics. I got close. That's cool. I made the world team. I'm going to try to forget about it, though. So it wasn't good anyways. And I tried to reason with myself why I should be done and never move forward again. But just like when I was a kid, that memory, that image popped back into my head, my why. I couldn't get it out. I couldn't escape from it. I remembered seeing those women win the gold medal, and I told myself, this is so much harder than I thought. But I can't quit now. I'm going to get back in the gym, and I don't know if anyone's ever going to believe in me again, but I believe in myself. This is possible. This is doable. I'm going to make this happen. And I made a commitment to myself right then that for the next 2 years leading up to the Olympics, I was okay with suffering. I was okay with being miserable because as a sophomore in college, here's what I made myself do. Every single day for 2 years without a single break. Woke up every morning at 5 a.m. for a 2-hour strength and conditioning session. As soon as that was over, I went to classes for 3 to 4 hours. Then I went back to the gym for another 4-hour routine training session. As soon as that was done, I went to evening classes, which ended around 8:30 or 9. When that was over, I went home, I studied, I went to sleep, I woke up the next morning and did it all again. It sucked. It was awful. And the entire time, I'm wondering, am I doing this for no reason? Is this all in vain? At the end of the day, am I even going to make it? Is this worth it? I just kept reminding myself, you know what? I'd rather suffer now and know that I gave it everything I had than to one day look back and think, what if? So I just kept pushing forward, not knowing what the end result would be. And I'll tell you what, every single moment was worth it. Because in 2008, I won the U.S. Olympic trials. I earned my spot onto the Olympic team, and I did not lead my team to the worst performance in history. Led my team to 2 medals at the Olympic Games, a bronze and a silver.
So I've asked Jonathan to share a story about his impossible thing.
Yeah, so in 2008, when I made my first Olympic team, one of the really cool experiences that I had was I got to compete in the high bar medal round, the finals. And for those of you that don't really know anything about gymnastics, the high bar is one of the really exciting events where there's just a bar that stands 10 feet above the ground. And you swing around it, and you flip, you twist, you do some really crazy skills. And so I had the opportunity to compete, but it's the journey that led up to that moment that I wanted to share with you, because it's, whenever I first started gymnastics, I wasn't really what people think an Olympic medalist probably was in the beginning. I wasn't some crazy prodigy of an athlete like Michael Phelps, who was born with fins and flippers. It was meant for the water. I actually really wasn't too talented of a kid. I wasn't the strongest, I wasn't the fastest, and I was a really, really slow learner. But as I got more involved in the sport, I really had a passion for it. I just loved everything about it. So I stuck with it, and I started competing. And then around the age of 12 or 13, I found myself doing really well on most of the apparatuses, but then high bar, I was really, really behind. There was the kids at that time that were way up here that were really good on that event, and I was on the floor. I wasn't any good at it, and there were a lot of skills and routines that I was supposed to be learning that I just couldn't figure out. I just wasn't meant to do it. And there was one day, I'll never forget, I was watching a competition on TV, and one of my Olympic heroes was doing a high bar routine. I saw him do this crazy skill. He's swinging around the bar as fast as he could. He let go of the bar. He did 2 flips in the air, and then he grabbed the bar again. And I was like, whoa, I'm going to do that. And so I walked back into my gymnastics facility the next day, and I told my coach, and he was like, no, you're not. You're going to kill yourself trying that. And I was like, well, I can't learn anything else. I'm doing horrible on this event. I might as well try something new that no one else has ever done. And so against my coach's wishes, I tried it, and I learned it in 2 days. Wow. And so no other gymnast in history had ever learned that particular skill at that age. And still to this day, no 13-year-old has learned that skill because it's so complicated. And so I remember thinking, okay, all right, I found something that I can do on this event. Now I need to really maximize it for all it's worth. And so I was like, well, I'm gonna twist it. I'm gonna do it with my legs bent, with my legs straight. And I'm just gonna do a routine full of these high-flying, crazy release elements. And when I started telling people about it and showing them what I was doing, immediately the Olympic team coach at the time comes up to me and he says, stop that. Don't do that routine, because when you get older, it will be impossible to ever compete a routine like that under pressure at an international event. And I remember thinking to myself, like, well, this is kind of all I got. So I might as well stick with this in spite of what everyone's telling me. And so I did, and I started doing this wild routine, and I fell time after time after time in the beginning. But by the time I was 18 years old, I was known for this insane high bar routine that I was finally getting through and performing really well. And I became the national champion on high bar. And so then suddenly, everybody's like, oh, dude, you're amazing. This is crazy. You're going to be awesome on high bar. You're going to be able to compete at the Olympics. And I was like, awesome. People finally, the naysayers believe in me. And then in 2008, the year of the Olympics, the entire year leading up to the Olympic Games, I fell on every single high bar routine, all of them. And then all the naysayers came back. We told you you couldn't do it. Too much pressure. Here you are trying to make the Olympic Games, and the pressure is, it's making you fall. And my coach and the Olympic team coach said, sorry, man, you're doing so well everywhere else, but you can't fall at the Olympic Games. You're gonna have to take all of those difficult skills out of your routine, water it down so that you don't perform poorly. And so I did. And I went to the Olympic Games, and it was kind of a shot at my pride, and I was really frustrated. And I went into the qualification round at the Olympics, and I did my high bar routine, and I did it nearly flawless. But it wasn't the really difficult one, but I was shocked because I qualified in 7th place on the high bar, and they take 8 people to advance into the final round. And I was like, whoa, this is crazy. I didn't think that easier routine was gonna get me into the finals. And I got this crazy idea. And I went to my coach and I went to my teammates and I was like, guys, I'm in the high bar final. What do you think of this? I'm gonna add all those crazy skills back in, a couple more, and then I'm gonna do the hardest dismount ever done in competition. And they all looked at me, they were like, yep, he's gonna die. They were like, dude, you realize there's 1 billion people that watch the Olympics and you're gonna try that for the first time at the Olympics? And I was like, yeah, got nothing to lose. I'm going for it. And everyone said, don't do it. Do not do that routine. And I was like, well, we'll see. So I had 4 days from the qualification round to the medal round to give it a shot a few times before I actually had to compete. And so I was in the practice facility doing this routine over and over and over again, falling every single time. And the Chinese, the Japanese, the Russians, the German, all the gymnasts were back there watching, and they were like, this stupid American, I can't believe he's trying this right now. And so I was just convinced. I had this feeling, I had this faith that like God was gonna get me through this. And I just kept telling myself, I can do it. Like, I know it's gonna happen. And so the day of competition, I'm standing underneath the high bar in this giant arena, 40,000 people, American flags draped everywhere, the 8 judges sitting in front of me, cameras in my face. I'm a little bit nervous. I'm about to do my routine, and my coach whispers in my ear, John, don't do it. And I looked at him, and I was like, oh, it's on. I'm going for it. And I raised my hand to the judges, let them know I was ready. I jumped up to the bar, and I started my routine. I was going around the bar faster than I ever have in my entire life. And I let go of the high bar for my first release element. And I flew 2 flips over the bar with a full twist. And I grabbed the bar, and I was like, whoa. I can't believe I caught the bar. And I swung around again, I let go again for another one, and I grabbed the bar again. And then I let go again, and I grabbed the bar again, and then one more, I had 2 flips in the air, and boom, I caught the bar, and I was like, what is happening? And I remember hearing the crowd just roar. And when you're swinging around a high bar, it's crazy what your senses tell you. I could see the people stand up. They were giving me like a standing ovation. The routine wasn't even over. And so I'm winding up for my dismount. I let go of the bar. I did a triple twisting double backflip. No other gymnast in the world had ever done it. And I landed on my feet, and I won a silver medal at the Olympic Games.
Awesome, dude. So that's a triple, double, twisting, triple, quadruple. I mean, what was that? It's awesome, man.
So it was really, really cool. I was this close to winning gold, and people always ask me, like, what was the difference? I'll show you the difference between gold and silver. So in gymnastics, when we do a dismount, we're required to land on the mats and stick our landing. You can't move your feet or it's a deduction. I landed my dismount. I lost my balance a little bit, took a small step. That was the difference between gold and silver. It was like gold, silver. I'm not bitter at all.
Awesome, Bo.
I never did anything great in my career without first coming up miserably short. Just, yeah, I know, literally and figuratively short. But I failed a million times. But those were the most important moments of my career. It was because of those failures and the times that I wanted to quit and the times that I thought I can't do it. Those drove me to becoming a national champion, to becoming a world medalist, an Olympic medalist. And I don't mention all that to brag or to boast about the things that I've done, but to make one really important point, and the point that I try to make to everybody. No matter what you're doing, no matter what your goals are, no matter what your crazy radical ambition is, it's not how you start. It's how you finish. I know everybody's heard that before, but it's so true. I wasn't a talented kid. I just made the decision at a young age that my level of talent wasn't going to determine how high I could rise. You know, in the Bible, it tells us that faith the size of a mustard seed can move mountains. I believe that talent the same size can do the same thing. But we've got to put in the work, got to put in the time, the effort, have the passion for what we're doing. We also have to be willing to put up with the crap, the garbage, the failures, and get up when we're down. Be willing to do what other people aren't willing to do. You know the only difference between an Olympian and every other athlete on the planet? It's the 6 inches between our two ears. We just made the decision to keep moving, keep going forward, even when we're not sure where we're going, wondering why it's so hard, why is it taking so long to make a single step. We just keep going.